There is wisdom in words, but greater wisdom in silence. The tongue, unguarded, is a blade that cuts both ways, wounding others and weakening the one who speaks. A wise man knows when to speak, but a wiser man knows when to say nothing. There are moments in life where silence is not merely golden, it is necessary. Hold your tongue, and you shall hold your power. Anger is a force that burns within, demanding release, urging the tongue to lash out, the hands to strike, and the heart to harden. In its grip, a man feels powerful, righteous even, believing that his words must be spoken, that his grievances must be heard. Yet this is an illusion. Words spoken in anger are rarely wise, and actions taken in anger often lead to ruin. A moment of uncontrolled speech can destroy relationships, damage reputations, and burden the soul with regret. The man who cannot restrain himself in his fury is a slave to it, allowing his emotions to dictate his fate. But the man who remains silent in his anger, he is the master of himself, unmoved by the storm within. Consider the nature of anger. It is fleeting yet destructive, burning hot but never lasting. It clouds judgment, distorts truth, and makes the mind reckless. When anger takes hold, reason weakens, and the tongue becomes a weapon rather than a tool. How many have spoken in a moment of rage rather than a tool? How many have spoken in a moment of rage, only to later wish they had remained silent? How many have let loose bitter words, only to realize too late that silence would have served them better? It is a lesson learned often through regret, yet the wise man learns it before the need arises. Silence in the face of anger is not weakness, it is not surrender, it is control. To hold one's tongue when every impulse demands speech is to demonstrate strength greater than the fiercest warrior. For what is more difficult, to conquer an enemy or to conquer oneself? The man who controls his anger commands respect, while the man who lets it rule him becomes a spectacle, pitied rather than feared. He loses his dignity, while the silent man retains his. When anger comes, let silence be your shield. Breathe, let the fire rage within without giving it fuel. Observe how anger demands immediate reaction, but deny it that satisfaction. Words once spoken cannot be recalled, but silence allows for thought, for restraint, for wisdom to take its rightful place over impulse. And when the storm of anger has passed, when the mind is once again clear, then and only then can one decide whether words are necessary at all. More often than not, they are not. More often than not, silence was always the better choice. There will always be those who seek to provoke, to test the strength of your resolve, to stir within you a reaction that serves their own purpose. Some do so out of malice, others out of ignorance, and some merely because they find pleasure in disrupting the peace of others. But their power is not in their words or actions, it is in your response. To react is to surrender control, to allow another to dictate your emotions and your state of mind. To remain silent is to remain sovereign over yourself. When a man is insulted, his instinct may be to retaliate, to defend his honor with words as sharp as those thrown at him. But what is honor if it can be shaken by mere words? True strength is not in the ability to argue, to outmatch insult with insult, but in the ability to remain unmoved, unaffected, untouchable. The one who provokes seeks a reaction, but silence denies them satisfaction. They expect anger, and when they are met with indifference, they are disarmed. There is wisdom in choosing silence over response, for many who seek to provoke do so not with truth but with falsehoods. They do not seek understanding but rather conflict, and to engage with them is to step into their game. No matter how wise or justified one believes their response to be, it is wasted breath if spoken to closed ears. The wise man does not argue with fools, nor does he seek validation from those who thrive on discord. He preserves his energy for matters worthy of his attention, for battles that must be fought, not the petty skirmishes of small minds. Silence is not only a shield, but a weapon in itself. It unsettles those who expect resistance, who rely on emotional reaction to fuel their own importance. When words fail to provoke, they lose their power. The man who cannot be shaken by insults commands a presence that speaks louder than words ever could. He does not need to defend his character, for his restraint proves it. He does not need to answer every challenge, for his wisdom is evident in his composure. In silence there is mastery. In silence there is dignity. The world is filled with noise, with voices clamoring for attention, with endless disputes that lead nowhere. To engage in them is to be swept away by the current, but to remain silent is to stand firm, rooted, immovable. There is no greater response to those who seek to provoke than the refusal to be moved. Let the unwise waste their breath, the wise man keeps his. A man who speaks without knowing the truth is like an archer who looses an arrow into the dark. He may strike something, but more often than not he wounds the wrong target. There is great danger in speaking before one has grasped the full measure of a matter, for words once released cannot be recalled. The tongue, unrestrained by wisdom, spreads falsehoods, fuels misunderstandings, and betrays its owner as a man of haste rather than thought. It is not only the fool who speaks without knowledge, but even the learned man, if he allows impatience or pride to guide his words instead of certainty. When a question arises, when rumors spread, when decisions weigh heavy in the air, the temptation to speak is strong. A man may feel that silence implies ignorance, that words, even if uncertain, prove intelligence, but it is the opposite. Those who speak without knowing reveal their ignorance, while those who wait and seek understanding display true wisdom. It is better to hold one's tongue and be thought a fool than to open one's mouth and remove all doubt. To remain silent until the truth is known is not a sign of hesitation but of discipline. Consider how often falsehoods take root simply because men do not guard their words. A single careless statement can mislead many, turning suspicion into certainty, assumption into fact. A lie may be spoken with no ill intent, yet it spreads, strengthened by those who repeat it without questioning its validity. The wise man does not contribute to such corruption of truth. He waits, he observes, he learns. If his words are needed, they are spoken with precision and weight, and if they are not, he allows silence to be his response. Pride is another enemy of truth. A man who fears admitting that he does not know something will rush to speak, desperate to appear informed, but this only exposes him further. There is no shame in waiting, in withholding opinion until knowledge is gained. The truly wise man is never afraid to say, "I do not yet know." This is not weakness, it is strength, for it shows that he values truth above ego, understanding above vanity. A steady hand pours wine without spilling, just as a steady mind speaks only when it should. Words should be like gold, rare and valuable, not scattered carelessly like dust in the wind. The patient man, the observant man, the man who remains silent until truth is clear, he is the one whose words will be trusted when they are finally spoken. There is no dignity in engaging with gossip, no wisdom in speaking of others when they are not present to speak for themselves. The words of those who indulge in such trivial matters are like dry leaves scattered by the wind. Yet, though gossip may seem harmless, its effects are anything but. It erodes trust, poisons friendships, and diminishes the character of the one who participates in it. A man who speaks ill of others when they are not present reveals more about himself than about those he speaks of. He shows that his words cannot be trusted, that his loyalty is fleeting, and that he values idle talk more than integrity. The wise man does not concern himself with rumors, nor does he lend his voice to the slander of others. He understands that to engage in gossip is to reduce oneself to the level of those who thrive on it, small minds who find satisfaction not in their own accomplishments, but in the flaws and misfortunes of others. To speak of another's faults does not make one's own virtues shine brighter. It merely reveals an emptiness within. The man who is truly strong, truly confident, has no need to tear others down, for he knows that his own worth is not built upon the ruin of another's name. Silence is the refuge of those who value their own reputation. To remain silent in the presence of gossip is to refuse participation in pettiness, to stand apart from the unwise and the undisciplined. A man who does not contribute to the slander of others shields himself from its reach, for those who eagerly speak of others today will speak of him tomorrow. The one who engages in gossip creates a circle of distrust where no one is safe, and no word spoken in confidence remains sacred. But the man who remains silent, who does not repeat what is whispered, becomes known as a person of integrity. Others will know that their words are safe with him, that he is not one who trades in the currency of betrayal. There is also wisdom in refusing to listen to gossip. To hear falsehoods and slanders is to allow them to take root in the mind, shaping opinions without proof, influencing judgments without cause. The ears must be guarded as carefully as the tongue, for to entertain gossip is to become complicit in its spread. The wise man knows that what does not concern him is not worth his attention, and what is not spoken in truth is not worth his breath. He lets the whispers of the unwise pass him by, unmoved, untouched, and untainted. There are moments in life when words fail to capture the depth of what must be understood. In times of great decision, profound loss, or deep realization, silence is not merely appropriate, it is necessary. The mind, when overwhelmed with emotion or uncertainty, seeks to fill the void with speech, as if words alone could bring clarity. But true understanding is born not from speaking, but from listening. To oneself, to the world, to the wisdom that exists beyond the noise of human conversation. A man who rushes to speak in moments that demand thought is like a traveler who sprints ahead without knowing the road. He may move quickly, but he does not move wisely. In times of great importance, silence grants space for reflection, allowing the mind to settle, to weigh what is before it, and to see the truth unobscured by impulse. The one who speaks without thinking drowns in his own words, but the one who remains silent gives himself the gift of time, the time to observe, to understand, and to act with certainty rather than mere reaction. Loss and grief are among the greatest teachers of silence. When faced with the weight of sorrow, there are no words that can mend what has been broken, no speech that can undo what has been lost. In these moments, silence is not an absence but a presence. It is the space where healing begins. A man who can sit in silence with his pain, who does not seek to escape it with idle talk, learns to endure it, to let it shape him rather than break him. And when he sees another in grief, he does not fill the air with hollow comforts, but offers instead the quiet strength of understanding. There are also moments when the world itself speaks, and the wise man listens. The unobservant man fills every silence with his own voice, believing that speech is proof of intelligence. But the truly wise know that the world reveals its secrets to those who are willing to be still. Nature, time, and experience all whisper their lessons, but only to the one who does not drown them out with his own noise. To retreat into silence is not to retreat from life, but to engage with it more fully, to allow oneself to hear what is often missed in the clamor of endless words. A man who understands the power of silence does not fear it. He does not rush to fill the space with unnecessary speech, nor does he seek distraction from his own thoughts. He knows that some answers can only be found in quiet, that some truths must be sat with before they can be spoken. The world does not always demand a response. Sometimes it simply demands that we listen. He who speaks only when necessary speaks with weight. He who guards his tongue guards his life. Words are powerful, but silence, when chosen with wisdom, is even more so. To hold one's tongue in anger is to master oneself. To remain silent when provoked is to deny power to the unworthy. To withhold speech until truth is known is to preserve one's integrity. To reject gossip is to uphold dignity. And to embrace silence in deep reflection is to find clarity where noise brings only confusion. Let the unwise waste their breath, the wise man keeps his. In silence there is strength, in restraint there is mastery, and in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, there is the path to wisdom.